Okay, we're going to look at using the motion editor to create an easing effect on an animation. So we're going to create an animation of a ball flying up in the air and then dropping back down to earth. So first of all, we need to create the ball shape using the shape tool. So we shift drag out a simple circular shape. Turn it, right click, convert to symbol, movie clip, call it ball. Okay, so we've got our asset there that we're going to use, we're going to animate. Go to the timeline. If we right click on the keyframe there and select create motion tween, it will automatically create a tween that lasts for 1 second, so it goes to frame 24. I'm going to extend that a bit, so if I click and drag on the end of that, drag to frame 80, make it slightly longer. So there we have our tween. Now if we scrub the needle to the beginning, we want the ball to start off bottom left, scrub the needle to the end, want the ball to end up bottom right. We have our tween, just level it up there in between the two. If I place just by eye, place or in fact what we can do is scrub to frame 40, which is the center of the tween, and click and drag the motion path up to create a kind of parabola, kind of a curved arc, and this is the path that our sorry, I messed up. This is the path our ball's going to follow. We can just play through that, scrub back. We can either use the player down on the bottom of the timeline here, or we can press enter on the keyboard. So that plays through. Now at the moment the speed is uniform, it's the same all the way through. What we want to do is mimic gravity, so the ball starts off fast when it's projected upwards, slows down when it reaches the top of the arc, and then speeds up as it drops back down to earth. So we're going to use easing to do that. Now the most accurate way to do this is by using the motion editor. So you see the motion editor tab here, we click on there. What that does is, I'm just going to expand it a bit, double click on the hand so we can still see the animation. It graphs out the movement here. Now we've got the various properties. We've got the basic motion here, we've got the X and Y direction, so Y vertical, X horizontal. It's telling us the position of the ball at the moment. If we scrub back the needle, you see it traces the position in terms of coordinates, pixel coordinates of the ball all the way across the curve. Okay, so you see when we reach the top of the curve, sorry, let me just zoom in on this view. Now if you see at the bottom here, at the moment it's only showing 24 frames at a time. If we click on there and type in 80, that will show the entire animation, and you can see more clearly here what's happening. So on the graph here for the X, in the X direction, you'll see that the ball is moving horizontally in a kind of uniform straight line. You see the graph is in a straight diagonal line here, because if you think it wasn't moving in a Y direction at all, it wasn't moving vertically at all, it's just basically moving from point A to point B horizontally across the screen. It's ending up at point B over here. So the X coordinate is just increasing gradually across this diagonal. The Y coordinate is slightly different. What that's doing is it's going up and then back down again. So it's increasing up the Y-axis to the top here, and then going back down the way it came to finish in the bottom right hand corner here. So you see this kind of uniform curve here. You see in the middle here, this is where it reaches the top of the arc, and then comes back down to where it began. Now we can add, we scroll down to the bottom here, we have the ease effects down at the bottom here. We have this simple slow one by default, which just basically slows down the animation as it gets towards the end. What we want to do is, if we click on the add custom eases here, we want stop and start fast. Okay, so it starts fast and stops fast, yeah, and slows down in the middle. So if we select that, so that is added to the eases we can use on this animation at the bottom here. It's not actually in place at the moment. To add it to the motion animation here, if we go to X and select stop and start fast, and Y stop and start fast, and if we test that now, it should have applied that now to the animation. So yep, so you can see it slows down at the top and speeds up again. So that's kind of mimicking the effect of gravity. Okay, and you see as it, you can see the way it's graphed here as it follows. And check the graph against the actual animation there and see how it follows that path. Just to add to that, the other area where it's graphed is under eases. So in the motion editor, if you look under eases here, under stop and start, it also graphs out the ease itself. So you see it's basically accelerating. So the steeper the graph here, the faster the acceleration. Then it levels out in the middle and accelerates less dramatically, and then towards the end the curve turns upward, which means the acceleration increases again. So that obviously mirrors what's happening here. The other thing to look at is the motion path itself, and you'll look, the spaces in between these dots actually represent individual frames. The spaces in between the individual frames are larger here, which means that basically the ball is covering more ground per frame. It's 24 frames a second, so it's covering more distance in a shorter period of time. Okay, so that's worth pointing out as well.